Hey, fiends of the pod, this is your host, Nate Wyckoff, and I want to remind you, go ahead and like and subscribe and check out cultandclassicfilms.com, where you can get cult movies exclusive to us with all sorts of extras like pogs. We're supposed to call them milk caps. They're not pogs. I don't know what pogs are. Autographed posters, slipcovers, all sorts of neat things. You can also subscribe to have them delivered to your door every month at a discount. That is cultandclassicfilms.com. Remember, like, subscribe, comment, and refer to your friends, even your enemies. Every time you like and subscribe, we make sure Michael Cera makes another film. Yeah, that's right. It's us. Enjoy.
Welcome to Cult and Classic.
Welcome, friends and fiends, to another mini-sode of Cult and Classic Podcast. These are the short episodes we bring you every Friday to tide you over until the next main episode on Tuesdays, when we discuss two films, one mainstream and one cult, both of which are thematically linked. So this week, I'm really excited for this mini-sode because I'm going to review the 2020 movie, late 2020. It actually just hit streaming February 1st, 2021, film Human Hibachi. Yes, it sounds gross, and it is kind of gross. And I don't say that as a bad thing. We're going to talk about this movie, which is available right now, streaming on TROMA Now, and has been picked up by TROMA, the world's oldest independent film studio, who you know I enjoy. Let's talk about Human Hibachi. So you might be thinking, this sounds like a cannibalism movie. And yes, you are right. It is a cannibalism movie. It's written and directed by Mario Cerrito III. And I apologize, Mario, if I'm saying your name wrong, but I'm famous for that. So enjoy. But no, Mario has made some very interesting films in the past. In 2015, he made Deadly Gamble. And then in 2017, he made The Listing, about a really high pressure real estate sale. It was fascinating. So I was really excited to dive into this one. Even though, while I don't mind gore and I really appreciate practical effects, films that sort of appear to be gore focused only are not always my favorite. That doesn't mean I don't like some of them, many of them, but sometimes it just doesn't have enough story to keep me engaged through the gruesome, and or it doesn't have the effective presentation to carry a small budget that it has. I'm happy to say Human Hibachi doesn't really fit either of those categories. Yes, it's a gruesome film. Yes, there's lots of raw meat being cut up, although, of course, we know in reality, probably it's not human meat, although it's portrayed that way on film. I will say, for a film that seems heavy in the gore, it's actually pretty tastefully done. So let's get right into what is the film Human Hibachi. The film Human Hibachi is a found footage film, filmed mostly from, so it's supposed to look like from a cell phone camera and occasionally security camera footage of a boyfriend who is filming his girlfriend's 35th birthday from start to finish. The idea being that he is capturing all the special moments as he makes her day as great as possible. The reality is that he is actually working for his restaurateur boss to document her great day, which will culminate with her butchering and being fed to very wealthy salespeople from an unnamed company. And then the film will be shipped to a market that deals in snuff films and weird fetish films overseas. So it's a gruesome concept. Not that it has been completely not done before, but it is let me say that again. Not that it hasn't been done before in some form or another on screen, but this is a fresh take, and it works pretty well. The same way that Cloverfield lent impending doom via found footage camera, Human Hibachi does the same for the ultimate dismemberment and cooking of humans. So it's a freaky thing. It's made even more freaky by realistic performances from cast and pretty decent acting across the board. The unfortunate birthday girl, Katie, is played by Elizabeth Gaynor. Elizabeth Gaynor is no stranger to low budget affairs. She's in the upcoming Mr. Blue Shirt, The Inspiration. She was in many shorts and has been in some upcoming films as well. It was also a small role in The Worry Doll from 2019. She does a great job playing her ill-meaning boyfriend is Sofigatra Thang. I really apologize if I mess up your name. You did a great job, usually just doing voiceover behind the camera, but you've been in some interesting films as well, including the superhero pick Jade from 2018. And then another real standout is Andrew Hunsaker, who plays the head of the wealthy businessman who is bankrolling the eating of these people. He's been in so many things. Great actor. Played the man in House of Cards. Played Pope Leo X in Pope, um, uh, the most powerful man in history. Excuse me, I'm blanking on that name. Great actor, and he does a really good job here being a very disturbing cannibal. And then we have sort of in, I think you would call it the lead role, Wataru Nishida, who plays Jin, who is the restaurant owner, who is sort of collecting and preparing, or his staff is preparing these humans for consumption. This is a film that could have been very bad. It could have been nothing more than an attempted exploitation with no story and no real effect behind its exploitation. And you know how much I hate that. I love exploitation films, but I'm not a fan of one that don't do it well. So I'm happy to say that Human Hibachi really succeeds in being a standout exploitation film. Why? Because its exploitation doesn't actually lie heavily in the visuals, although those are competently done. It lies in the actions and portrayal of the events on screen. It's disturbing enough, the idea that you have people willing to murder other people and feed them to others for money and film it. But what's more disturbing is seeing portrayals of people acting very normal but clearly fetishizing and aroused in sexual but non explicit ways by something like cannibalism. So, for example, Hunsaker's character of the big boss, who has his three top salespeople come with him and eat of human flesh in the base or in the kitchen of this restaurant after hours, are terrifying. They start by being just normal, sort of everyday high roller businessmen in the West to being disturbing, blood squeezed in their faces through ketchup bottles, urine drinking, human testicle eating monsters. It is truly a terrifying and progressive ramping up of depravity. And what's amazing about it is that, as I said, it really isn't that explicit. Yes, we see beef and chicken cut up with fake blood on it that to look like human organs. We know those aren't real. But it doesn't matter because the grotesqueness is really not what's shocking here. It's the concept taken to this realistic extreme. We also have the police in on it at one point, and we have the end of the film with this sort of framing. I wouldn't even call it a framing story. This sort of epilogue that's just text that says this video was caught before it was shipped overseas, and but that doesn't mean that the people who are involved in this murder and cannibalism ring are not still at large. So it's a great movie. I actually am kind of blown away by it. I see why people like it. It's done low tech, but it's done very effectively. There are times when the sort of cell phone-ish footage stutters. There are times when it slows down and gets a little high pitched or has a ringing, and it actually does a lot to cause us tension, physical tension that is subtle. We don't necessarily, we're so invested in what's on screen that we're not so concerned with whether or not the sound is making some screeching noise or whether there's a little feedback that wasn't there before or whether the video is a little sluggish. And Yet, because those things are happening, there's a high pitched noise. The video is dragging out while the character is also drunk, who's being victimized and soon to be eaten. It's it just works to enhance the effect. And if you hear me struggling to find words to describe this, it's because unlike a lot of films where there is some sort of twist, which I often review, and I give away the ending because I frankly don't think that it's a very powerful part of the film. Human Hibachi actually got me. I didn't expect the twist coming. I think if you could make one argument against the ending, it's that it does go a little farther than it has to be with the story. It takes characters into new directions that I didn't necessarily need them to go to still be satisfied. That said, it wasn't unwelcome. I actually welcome the additional information. I thought it was fine. And the fact that there's a sequel already being developed excites me because the characters that they put in here and the events and the methodology of their crimes that have taken place are really engaging to watch. This is the kind of thing that if it were true, if this were a true crime movie, people would be doing podcasts about it for decades. It is really interesting, and I really enjoyed it. And like I said, the cast does a great job. It's a very small cast. The locations are well chosen. There's a couple of times where some of the location backdrops, if you look closely, are confusing. For example, they're supposed to be in a sushi restaurant, yet in the kitchen there are bags of pita and either meatballs or falafel. Probably not a sushi restaurant, but again, if you're paying attention to that, you're either a reviewer like me or you're not paying attention to the movie because you're going to be much more engaged in the severed torso hanging in the meat locker or the is this person going to get away or are they not going to get away or are they really going to eat that? Now, so words of warning, while this isn't what I would categorize as a gore film, really, because there's not, melted faces and torn rib cages spewing gore, it is graphic in other ways. If you don't want to see a fake severed penis cooked and eaten, this isn't the movie for you. That said, the stuff like that people could find really repulsive, I put forward that it's only moderately repulsive because they're clearly fake. That said, the acting on display, especially from the salespeople, are is so stellar that they're committed 100%. What they're eating to them is human beings, and the fact that it's gelatin or other things really doesn't matter at all. So I want to give a shout out to Mario Cerrito III and the entire cast and crew of Human Hibachi. This is a really enjoyable film. It's something I hadn't seen before. It's a breath of fresh air in the found footage category film era. It's about an hour and a half, so it doesn't overstay its welcome. And there's a lot of opportunity for future stories based on this. So I'm looking forward to the sequel. It's classy exploitation, if that makes sense. Some of you that will sound like slander, but you know, so be it. That said, there are one or maybe two scenes of brief nudity. I think really only one, and it's not it's really nothing so titillating that you would call it a sexploitation film. Also, I really appreciate that the film's sexual perversion, that vibe of sexploitation, comes from these cannibals' treatment of the eating of a human being. It is in no one, there's no rape, there's no assault, sexual assault rather, in this film, and it doesn't need it. It is more disturbing to see the behavior of these cannibals than it is to see any of that other stuff simulated on the screen. So kudos to them. I'm really excited to share this movie with people. If you want an experience, you're not used to this kind of cinema, give this one a shot. Um, it, the budget is perhaps a little shocking if you're not used to ultra low budget films at first, but there is a small framing scene before and after and once in the middle of this movie where people are watching the footage, and that is perhaps the lowest budget feeling material. I don't know that it was wise to open and close with that simply because of how much at odds it seems with the rest of the movie, which is quite well produced for such a small production. but it does work with the story narratively. So I understand why they went with that. Just stick through it. It's going to make sense. It's going to work. And this is a good movie. It's sort of a non-sexy, non-hentai eroji take on the Japanese film from Switchblade Pictures, Cool Restaurant. It's got that kind of grody vibe of like Nordica's Dinner Table, although never pushing it that far. Just watch Human Hibachi. It's a good movie. I really liked it. If you're into horror and gore and cannibalism's not off the table for you, give it a watch. Let me know what you think about it. Write us at coltonclassicpodcast@gmail.com. To play us out, as always, is the Chud with All About Evil. And go ahead and rent this film on TROMA Now. Pick it up when it comes out. Support these filmmakers who are making good, unique, independent, low-budget films so they can keep doing it and keep honing their craft. And as for us, write reviews at Cult and Classic Podcast, wherever you find it. Podcast Addict, Apple Music, iTunes, Google Podcast, etc. We love you and have a great night.
Hey everyone, thanks for listening to Cult and Classic Podcast. This podcast is important to me, but what's more important are the rights, privileges, and freedom from violence of everyone in this country and in this world. And that means supporting Black Lives Matter. If you'd like to make a donation, please go ahead and visit coltonclassicpodcast.com, where we have a list of places you can donate and help out. And please stay safe.